Well, welcome to High School Sports Talk. I'm Perry Williams. Alongside me today is Justin Keever, Noblesville High School baseball coach. Welcome, Justin.
Thanks, Perry. Thanks for having me.
One of the things that most of you know that I'm a big sports fan, and especially a baseball fan. So for the longest time, I've been wanting to do some baseball shows behind the scenes. Coach Keever was interviewed by I guess it's a national group. Was it Top Coach?
Top Coach, yeah.
Top Coach. And I listened to the podcast, and I thought, man, if we can do that, well, I've got Justin in my own backyard, and he knows a lot of coaches, and we can set up, and we have coaches call in, and we can talk about different things about high school baseball, about youth baseball, about travel baseball, and all those type things that are important. So I wanted to do this show, and so Justin and I met about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he said, hey, I'm in. I'm always in to talk about baseball, and especially about baseball in Indiana, so in Noblesville. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, Justin has a camp coming up here at the end of December, which it's set up in 2 different age groups, one being the middle school, which is a 2-day camp, and the other camp, which is K through 6, is that right? Which is a 1-day camp. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and some of the different things that are going on, how you can get signed up, and then one of the things that we're going to talk about a little bit is Justin's always been big, and ever since he's been to Noblesville, talking about the Miller Way, and we're going to try to explain today when I guess the author of the Miller Way is going to talk a little bit about what this program is all about. So let's talk first of all about the camps and when they are, Justin.
Yeah, so we got 3 days blocked off for our camps. The first 2 days will be with the middle schoolers, the 7th and 8th graders specifically, and what we've done this year within these days is to break it up by position group. And so the first couple days will be the hitting and the infield defensive portion. So with our coaches, especially our coaches assigned to those position groups, will help me in kind of leading those sessions and talking about what our approach of the plates are like and the type of fundamentals with our swings. And we have a nice new Rapsodo piece of equipment that's going to help our guys understand swing plane, launch angle, spin rates, all that stuff off the bat, and to have that trajectory of kind of giving us that inside, giving us what it would look like outside. We can see that stuff inside where it's nice and cold outside. But and then we'll talk about infield play, and I'll be leading that group, talking about the right way to field the ground ball and the importance of positioning and understanding the game and where we're supposed to be on custom relays and some of the stuff, especially if they're getting to that age at the 7th, 8th grade year, the fields are bigger. And some new aspects are going to come to light for them. And then the next day we'll have Coach Small and the rest of the staff to help with the pitching aspect of it. And we'll talk about our best practices in terms of our pitchers and what we go about in terms of our arm care, how to prepare, holding runners, all the things that come around the pitching. It'll be a 3-hour segment there. And then Brad Lance, who is our catcher's coach, is going to take through a catching clinic. And it's not just the fundamentals of behind the play, but also how to think the game and how to call games and how to receive a baseball and all that stuff.
Now, the one thing I was noticing, because baseball is like in all sports, whether it's basketball, football, any kind of sport today, there's a cost associated with it. And from looking at your costs and the breakdown of your costs, where you can actually, if you're a pitcher, you can just come for the pitching portion of it and pay that way. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I can tell you, I've been in this game a long time, and the prices that you have for this camp is very, very reasonable.
What we try to do is kind of compartmentalize, they're getting to the age too where they're having preferences on what they would like to do and what they want some more help on, and in what ways we can serve them in terms of their development. And so we a lot of guys just want to hit. We got some people who aren't pitchers, and but some guys that are. And And then also where you see a lot of it is behind the plate. Not everybody's a catcher, but they go to these camps, and a lot of times they don't get the opportunity to hone their craft. And so we'll have a separate segment for them where they get the 100% attention on their ideal position.
Now, Justin, let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned yourself will be one of the instructors in this camp, but you also have some very, very talented coaches that are very, very knowledgeable about the game. So,
very blessed to have a very competent and not only competent staff, but a staff that really cares and understands the process and the big picture of what we're trying to do, and that goes even outside the lines of baseball. But Kevin Fitzgerald has been with me for 12 years now. This is our hitting coach. He's been a hitting coach for those 12 years, and we've done very well at the plate, and our guys have under his tutelage in terms of approach and how we go about what we're measuring the right things, what are the things we can control, and not to mention the mechanics of the swing. And then also we have Brad Lance. Brad Lance came over to us from Guerin High School as the head coach there did really well while he was there, and we were able to get him after he resigned from that position to be our catcher's coach, and that's what he played and what his background is in. We played at Anderson University, and from the time he's been here with us since the fall, we're very going to benefit greatly from his expertise for sure. And then Caleb Small, who's now in his fourth year with us, his third year as the pitching coach, and he's done an awesome job with our guys. And with Ben Yoder, who's now his second year with us to help out with that. We also pitched at AU, and Caleb pitched at Marion University, and but they just do a really good job. They care, they prepare. It's not a fly by the seat of the pants. There's a plan involved, and we're just anxious to share that plan and that vision with those kids coming up through our program that one day will be Millers for us. Absolutely.
Justin, now I know with your personality you don't like to talk about your career, but you had a very good career in high school and at Butler. So talk a little bit about where you've come from and some of the things that.
Oh well, I'm from Monticello, Indiana, home of the Twin Lakes Indians, and had a really good experience there playing all three sports: baseball, basketball, and football. Wouldn't trade that experience, that childhood, for anything. It's a school about the size of, I'd say, Hamilton Heights, about 800 students. And then I was fortunate enough to be recruited and taken on the Butler baseball, Butler baseball program with Coach Farley, Steve Farley at the time. He had been there for 25 years, and we had some success there. We were able to go and win 3 conference championships, and when they expanded the term, we were able to go to the NCAA tournament my senior year, and we won it. And that was a great experience. I mean, not just the fact of the success that went through it, but just the relationships you build. The understanding that you think you understand the game and you really don't until you do it every day. And my dad had done such a great job preparing me through high school on how to play the game, the right way. And then it goes to another level when you get to that level in terms of just the education of it all. And a lot of the things that we do today is what I learned in that experience. And then obviously you tweak and you learn as you get going. But a lot of those foundational pieces, whether it be on the field, but also on how you interact with each other and how teammates interact, and what really wins, not just in the game, but also in life.
Now, one of the things that, because, with the great success at Butler and with Brad Stevens in basketball, and many people talk about the Butler way, and all coaches, it seems like, since Brad, it was there before Brad, but it really came nationally to the forefront about that Butler way. And I know that you have a program set up what you call the Miller way. Is it much similar to the Butler way? I mean, obviously when you go through your careers, there's certain people, certain mentors out there that teach you a lot, and you try to put all these things together. So let's talk a little bit about the Miller way, because the Miller way is a very important piece of your program.
Well, I think in terms of, we talk about an infinite and finite game setting, I mean, you've got the Miller way, for me, is not only one that teaches us how we develop our relationships with our teammates and our coaches, and in your team, it also develops what your future relationship should be with your families and the people that are going to be working with you in your life. And again, we talk about the Miller Way. It's all way how you package it, really. I mean, I think a lot of the same principles are there in many other programs, but what we talk about is this 100% commitment. And that's kind of what it requires. If you can't have your half in, half out, you're fully committed. We have these 5 circles in our weight room and in our locker room talking about the levels of commitment. And there's that middle level of being compliant. Compliant is doing what's told. You're always there, no more, no less. And then we talk about that next circle, that's being committed, where you're going above and beyond what's asked. And then we will try to get everybody to the point where we're compelled that our example and our investment in the relationships with our teammates will pull others with us as we start taking things to the next level in our commitment. And one of the big things too is the denying of selfishness. And I think we are innately selfish as human beings. And I think if it was easy, we always want what we want. And it's kind of like we as parents. I'm a parent of 3, and is that we always talk about how was your day, how things go for you that day, did you get your homework done, did you get your job? So it's always about them. In reality, when you're involved in team sport and the family and in the marriage and stuff like that, it's not about you. I mean, you're just part of another spoke on the wheel, and how can you make it best, not just for you, but everybody else around you. So we talk about being selfless. And then we are of a growth mindset type of deal in which we're trying to improve every day. We know where we are now, but we're going to try to get better the next day. And we're going to use every circumstance that we have, good or bad, to learn from and try to get better. And then we talk about that improvement, but that improvement needs to be in context of understanding where we are right now and having that sense of reality. Okay, I think a lot of times, and that's kind of what coaches and parents and teachers are helping kids to, and whoever your friends are or people close in your lives, just to help you have a firm grasp of reality. Because I think sometimes we get lost in our own imagination of what things are and what they are not. And that's kind of what this whole team's all about. And then once we understand that reality of where we are, what we need to get better at, and what our strengths and what our weaknesses are, then we work to improve. But we do that in the context of doing what's best for the team first. And that is something we hammer home every time, instilling and building those relationships with each other. Because then when we can help the other person, we'll be more likely to accept that. And then within that, we have these 5 principles we just call it STUFF. There's different ways to do the acronym there, but we talk about servanthood, thankfulness, unity, passion, humility, and those are just kind of those 5 passions. We have definitions for each one of those things, but just kind of to guide us in that middle way. Because at the end of the day, these are transferable. This goes beyond the lines of baseball, and then that's kind of what our job as educators. And they're educating me too. I mean, I learn just as much from them as hopefully they're learning from us as a coaching staff. But this is the foundation of who we are. And then we talk about the hierarchy and how we make decisions and how we operate. We do what's best for the program first, then the team, and then the individual. And it has to be in that order. Because the only thing that's going to remain when we're gone, when Coach Keever's gone and when the players leave, is the program. There's going to be a baseball program. And did we leave it better than what we started with, right? And so then we look at the team. Then that team is part of that program. It's the kind of the big spoke in that wheel of what the program's all about. And then the individual. We want to do what's best for every player, for every coach, but it cannot be in conflict with what's best for the program. And that's kind of a dichotomy there too, because like I said, I'm a parent. I go to the games, and I first care about my kids, and then the team, and then the program, and that's kind of how you look at it, and that's natural. But when we talk about our parent meeting, and we talk about to the players, because then they're more concerned about themselves too. So when you're part of this program, though, this is how it's going to be. This is the order in which we're going to work on things. And in the end, that's where I think true happiness comes from. Is like when you can invest in other people, and have that selflessness, you're going to be more and more fulfilled, I think.
Yeah, I understand that. That's a very good explanation, and I think it's one of the things that you've had some great success here at Noblesville, and obviously 2014 was probably your pinnacle as far as winning a state championship. In fact, winning a state championship in baseball, which Noblesville's had many great baseball teams, but you were blessed to have a good program, okay, that you already had in place. And that was a selfless team. That was a very good team. And that program, that team, that individual, it basically fell right in line that season. I mean, it was just, I spent a lot of time with you that season, was very blessed to be a part of that and saw that all come together like that. But it truly in 2014 all came to.
Yeah, I don't think you can get to any of those pinnacles without that. There's no guarantee that you're going to get to those pinnacles with it. It's a guarantee you won't get there without it. And I think we've had a lot of good teams that were really good models of that, of those principles, and some that had some better years than others. But like I talked about even after when we won the championship, there is that it wasn't, that didn't define them. What they did not define them. They had already kind of articulated their definition of how they interacted with each other every day, and how they went about their business every day. That was kind of their definition. Everybody else got to have a good look and got the advertisement because of that run. But like I said before, we've had a lot of good teams. There's some teams that, quite honestly, are probably around 500 that got the most out of their abilities and that really loved each other, were really good teammates, and they were just honestly were as rewarding as even some of these teams that this team that did it. And even in the 2016 the 16 team that won the conference championship recently, which was every bit as good as this team, just didn't make the run in the tournament. So, but again, those teams are that way because of the way they love each other and the way they come together to work every day, and the way they don't just play for themselves, they're playing for each other. The ones that struggle, the ones that may not reach their goals that they write down at the end of the year, at the very beginning of the year, is because sometimes we lose our way on what we're really here for, and that we let adversity kind of change our focus. And that's our job as coaches, to help them refocus that. But then also the seniors who have been through it, to help the younger guys. And the biggest thing for us too is about leadership, is servanthood, because we have our seniors that, for us, they're the ones serving the underclassmen. The underclassmen aren't the ones picking up the stuff. They're not the ones carrying the equipment. Our seniors are showing them and modeling what that looks like. They're the ones taking them with them to help them pick up the things, and to get BP set up, and what the time limit is to get everything ready to go. Because if they're not modeling good behavior, if the coaches aren't modeling good behavior on what we have to do, then how could we expect the people to come along who don't know any different how to act? So it is as much as important as the players, the older players who have been through it, to model that servanthood behavior.
Yeah, and the one thing too is, and we talked about this with your coaching staff, now with this coaching staff you have, with Fitz being with you for so many years, Caleb's been with you for a while now, Coach Lance, who is coming from Guerin, coming from a head coach capacity, you can now spend more time working with your young players and developing this program on down the line. And the point I want to make in this camp you got coming up, the Miller Way is talked about in both the K through 6, the middle school. So when you get at Noblesville High School, it's not the first time you know about the Miller Way.
No, and you start introducing some of those principles, and then and not just within those, but also how you play the game. And like you said, I get really good coaches. But we'll fail to mention the guy by the name of G. Marinacci, who's been with me about 9 years, and he's about an 83-year-old man who played in the Dodgers organization back in the day with Sandy Koufax and those guys. And his love for his players, and his love for this program, the way he goes about his business as a guy who's been successful in his life and comes in here and just pours himself into these kids, and how much these people need to understand how much he actually invests into what he's doing. And it was interesting, when we won the state championship that year, he wasn't able to come because he had gotten sick the night before, and it really kind of stuck with him, that kind of bothered him. He couldn't go. But I know all those players, those seniors, had played for him. It was like I believe it was one of his first years as the head coach, had played for him, and as freshmen. And they made a point to stop at the hospital that day to see him, and then wanting to go to the hospital after we won the game. They had closed visiting hours and able to do it. But I know they the Mills took care of him there, make sure he was able to see the game during the game there. That was kind of neat there at community. But he's been a valuable asset to this program too, kind of setting that direction of what it means to be a Miller baseball player, because his position is really important.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we've kind of talked through our time here and everything, but let's talk one more time about this camp. How can people, first of all, the camp's going to be at the high school.
Yep.
Okay. Now, can that day of the camp, can they also enroll then, or?
Yeah, right now we have some room. We have to do some walk-ups. So there is a date on there. I don't remember exactly what that date is, but we put a deadline on when to get the T-shirts ordered, because we want to give them every camper a T-shirt.
I think it's 12/11. I think 17 is what you have here.
Okay, then December 11th so that way we can get the T-shirt orders in, and then that way get them in the right size for them. We can probably work something out in terms of guys that walk up, and maybe what we can do with the T-shirt. We'll work something out there. But yeah, go to millerball.com. At the top there, you can see the winter camps button there at the top, and you can register for the camp you want to attend. Again, we have the K through 6 camp, and that's an all-day camp. We do divide them up by age group, so we don't have kindergartners with 6th graders and things like that, but we do divide them up, talk about some different skills. We also have some fun in those camps too. Hopefully the other ones are fun too, but have some fun, play some games, interact with some players at that camp. We got players work that camp, and we'll have a good time. Have some lunch together, so it'll be a good day.
Yeah, it's good networking time for you to get to know the kids, and the kids get to know you, and I know that's important, because when you have those days from the youth baseball program or the travel programs, and they come to your games, it's a big deal for those guys to be able to meet those high school players and high school coaches.
Absolutely.
And now, as far as if you want to register, all that information's on the website. Also, Jim kicked in today on HamiltonCountyTV.com, and he's also added at the top of our website. So it says Miller's Baseball Camp. You can click on that. You can get that sheet there and fill it out and get it mailed in or whatever to get it to you, Coach. And the one thing about it, I want to, before we close out here with Coach, this was very, very interesting to me, talking about the Miller Way and talking about camps coming up. But Justin and I at the first of the year are going to be doing some other shows, and we'll bring in some more people. We'll bring in Coach Clark. We'll bring in our trainer, Pete. We'll be discussing baseball injuries, sports injuries. We'll be talking about conditioning programs that you take the players through in the off season, and we maybe even set up, talk to some of the coaches, and we may be able to have some famous coaches around Indiana or around the country to call in, and we'll talk a little bit about them and talk baseball. So just a good opportunity for Justin and I both to sit down and talk about baseball and let you know what's going on in Noblesville, in the state of Indiana, and throughout the country, because baseball. And there's no better place in Indiana right now to play high school baseball in the Hoosier Crossroad Conference.
Oh, that's it.
Because we can talk about in basketball, football, that the MIC is probably the powerhouse of high school sports in those two sports. But in baseball, top to bottom, it'd be hard to compete with the Hoosier Crossroad Conference with all the great teams there.
Yeah, it's definitely a meat grinder. So.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you after the first of the year. We'll be doing maybe a couple shows a month until baseball starts, and we'll be talking about the Miller season and all kinds of things about Noblesville baseball, Indiana baseball, and travel sports. All right, so I'll see you next time. For Perry Williams and Justin Keever, we'll see you later.